knows.
Like you're saying, okay. Odin sees beyond. That's all about us watering down history to make it easier to swallow, where we weren't as barbarian. We did what we did.
Yeah, why hide it?
Why even try to sit in those shoes? Did what we did. This is what happened. Are you willing to sacrifice the idea of who you were for who you can become? Hey everybody, welcome back. I don't know what you're talking about. You're back with Jane and Mark and Blue Box 29. Today is January 12th. January 12th. Mark is here with me today on the intro, so we are heading into today with the sacrifice. So the theme of the sacrifice is the cost of destiny. Okay? So we've been talking a lot about the awakening and hearing the call and answering the call, giving it attention, and now you're crossing through the veil, right? So now we're looking at the cost. Remember, we are all about that inward work and the soul miss. Okay, so look at that shadow work. Today we are looking at another Norse, another Greek, a Hebrew, and an Aztec story. So those are our 4 cultures today. We'll see you after this. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. Odin and the Price of Sight. In Norse tradition, wisdom is never gifted, it is paid for. Odin is not a god who rules by comfort or ease. He is the seeker, the wanderer, the one who refuses ignorance even when knowledge wounds him. Of all the gods, Odin understood this truth best. To see more than others, one must be willing to lose what others protect. At the root of the world stands Mimas Brunner, the well of Mimir, whose waters hold memory, foresight, and the deep patterns of fate. Mimir, the keeper of the well, does not guard it with weapons. He guards it with cost. Odin comes to the well knowing this. He asks for a drink. Mimir does not refuse him. Instead, he names the price. An eye. Not a metaphor, not a symbol, a true sacrifice of perception itself. Odin understands immediately. To gain sight beyond time, he must surrender part of his sight within it. Without hesitation, Odin removes his own eye and casts it into the well. The water accepts it. From that moment forward, Odin sees differently. He gains no peace, no comfort, no joy from this knowledge. What he gains is burden. Visions of Ragnarok, of the death of gods, of the ending he cannot stop, but must prepare for. He walks the worlds one-eyed, marked forever by what he chose to know. In Norse myth, Odin's sacrifice teaches that destiny demands payment in advance. Knowledge does not spare the knower. Wisdom sharpens sorrow. And those who seek to understand fate must accept that understanding changes them permanently. Odin does not regret his choice, but he never forgets its cost. Story 2. Iphigenia and the Wind That Would Not Blow. In Greek myth, the gods do not demand sacrifice lightly, but when they do, the price is never symbolic. At Elis, the Greek fleet waits. 1,000 ships sit motionless on the water, sails slack, oars useless. The wind has abandoned them. Troy lies across the sea, the war sworn, the oath already spoken. Yet Artemis has stilled the air. The reason is not mystery. Agamemnon, king of Mycene and commander of the Greek forces, has offended the goddess. In some tellings, he boasts of his skills as a hunter. In others, he kills a sacred deer. In all versions, the balance is broken. Artemis speaks through the seer Calchas. The wind will not turn until Agamemnon offers what he loves most, his daughter, Iphigenia. She is summoned to Aulis under false pretenses, told she will be married to Achilles. She arrives dressed for joy, not death. When the truth is revealed, grief tears through the camp. Her mother, Clytemnestra, curses her husband. Soldiers avert their eyes. Agamemnon collapses beneath the weight of what he has agreed to. But the army waits. The oath binds them all. In some early versions of the myth, Iphigenia is dragged to the altar screaming, sacrificed against her will so the war may begin. In others, later tellings soften the blade. Iphigenia accepts her fate, stepping forward willingly, choosing to become the offering so Greece may sail. In certain traditions, Artemis intervenes at the final moment, replacing Iphigenia with a deer and carrying her away to become a priestess. But the knife is raised, the intent is real, the cost is acknowledged. The wind returns, the ships sail. And Agamemnon never escapes the consequences. His sacrifice poisons his house, leading directly to his murder upon returning home. The gods accept the offering, but they do not erase the blood it spills across generations. The myth of Iphigenia teaches a brutal Greek truth. Destiny may demand innocence. Victory may require unbearable loss. And sacrifices made for glory often return as grief. Even when the altar is spared, the soul is not. Story 3. The Sun That Must Be Fed. In Aztec belief, the world exists only because it is continually paid for. Creation is not stable, it is sustained. Before the current age, the gods attempted creation 4 times. 4 suns rose, 4 worlds were born. Each one failed, flooded, burned, devoured, or torn apart when balance was lost. Humanity did not survive those ages. The present world, the 5th sun, came into being only through sacrifice. At Teotihuacan, the gods gathered to decide who would become the sun. 2 stepped forward. One was wealthy and proud. The other was humble, scarred, and ill. When the fire was lit, the proud god hesitated. The humble one did not. He threw himself into the flames, burning completely, transforming into the sun, Tona Tiao. But the sun did not move. It hung motionless in the sky. The gods understood immediately. Creation had begun, but it could not continue without nourishment. One sacrifice was not enough. The sun required fuel. So the gods sacrificed themselves. Their blood spilled across the heavens, setting the sun in motion. From that moment forward, humanity inherited the responsibility the gods began. If the sun was to rise each day, it had to be fed. This belief shaped the Aztec world. Human hearts were offered not as cruelty, but as cosmic duty. The heart, still beating, was lifted to the sky so the sun could drink its strength. Without this exchange, the Aztecs believed the sun would weaken, stall, and the world would end again. Sacrifice was not punishment. It was participation in creation. To live under the fifth sun was to accept a sacred debt. Every dawn was a reminder that existence itself was borrowed time, paid for in blood, breath, and courage. The Aztec lesson is stark and unflinching. Life is not free. Continuance requires offering. And when the price is not paid, the world does not gently fade. It collapses. Story 4. Isaac Bound. In the Hebrew tradition, sacrifice is not about feeding the cosmos. It is about obedience, trust, and the terrifying intimacy between a human being and God. Abraham had already given up everything once: his homeland, his father's house, his certainty. He followed a voice into the unknown with nothing but a promise. And after decades of waiting, that promise finally took flesh in his son Isaac. Isaac was not only a child, he was the future, the covenant made visible. Then God spoke again. "Take your son," the voice said, "your only son whom you love. Go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering." No explanation followed. The text does not tell us Abraham argued. It does not say he wept or protested. It only says he rose early the next morning, he saddled the donkey, he cut the wood. Silence fills the space where emotion should be. Isaac walked beside his father for 3 days. 3 days knowing something was wrong, though he did not know what. When they reached the mountain, Abraham told the servants to wait. Father and son climbed alone. Isaac carried the wood. At some point, he asked the question that echoes through centuries. "Father, where is the lamb?" Abraham answered with the only truth he could manage: God will provide. On the mountain, Abraham built the altar. He arranged the wood carefully. Then he bound Isaac. The boy did not flee. The story does not record a struggle. Whether through trust, fear, or love, Isaac allowed himself to be placed on the altar. The knife was raised. At that moment, the angel of the Lord called out, "Abraham, Abraham." The command came quickly: "Do not lay a hand on the boy." Now God knew. Now it was proven that Abraham would not withhold even the most precious thing. A ram appeared, caught by its horns in a thicket. It was offered in Isaac's place. The sacrifice was stopped. But something irrevocable had already happened. Abraham learned that faith meant surrender without guarantee. Isaac learned that life itself could be demanded, and the covenant shifted. From that day forward, sacrifice in the Hebrew tradition would move away from human life and toward substitution. Blood would still be shed, but not that blood. The binding of Isaac, the Akedah, becomes a defining moment where devotion is tested to its limit and mercy intervenes. It is not a story of cruelty. It is a story about where the line is drawn and about the cost of trusting a God who asks everything. Welcome back. The lesson of today, the sacrifice with those 4 stories, is that nothing sacred is free. Across culture, sacrifice is the price of continuation. An eye for wisdom, a daughter for wind, blood for the sun, and a son bound and spared. Each story reveals the same truth. Nothing of lasting meaning is gained without cost. Odin, okay, so if you're wondering why so much Odin, other than the fact that he's awesome, you have to remember that it's a winter month too. So a lot of the themes that come with the cold, the stillness, harsher realms, the harsher realities of life, you know, he was all about that shadow work. So of course we're going to see a lot of Odin. This is the Norse Iron Age and Viking Age, okay? And his sacrifice is not about loss for redemption. It is about exchange. Wisdom is not earned through virtue, but through willingness to pay what others will not. So because you can do and are willing to do, and I say you can, meaning your willpower.
Right.
You proved it through your willpower. So therefore you can do it. He did a lot. He really did try to figure out how to get everyone through. Now he's hung from the tree, stabbed himself, took out his own eye. It's a burden. All of these things.
That part, like when you're listening to that, and what was he expecting? You know, that's what I want to know. Do you think he was expecting a burden like that?
Maybe either he was expecting exactly what it was, or he was expecting nothing at all. I feel like it's one or the other.
I could see him expecting exactly what it was, so he could set things up like it says in the story for Ragnarok or whatever. And like what you and I have discussed for our books and what we want to do within those.
Oh, like you're saying, okay. Odin sees beyond.
So like, yeah. You get why I brought it up then.
That made me so excited.
Yeah.
So like that's our, I don't know, I would say our number one book, but I feel like we interchange all three of them so much. Well, 1 and 2 we interchange a lot. I think through this storytelling we'll be able to do 3 a lot better. We haven't gotten to any of that yet, though.
Right.
Andean and like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Would Odin's sacrifices have only limited to the knowledge of his lifetime, or would he would be able to see beyond? Which
I would assume that's what it was.
You would assume Odin would see creation. He would see the next cycle.
Well, I mean, he said he already saw the 4 before, right? And they were on the 5th.
No, that's the Aztec one. But that's a good transition. That's kind of what we were talking about a couple weeks back. That the sacrifices, it's misunderstood through the moral lens of things. Within the culture, it was not barbarianism. It was reciprocity. So the gods gave their lives first. Therefore, humanity needed to remember that debt. So it wasn't about necessarily the brutality of we are better, like rip open their heart and like tear it open, whatever we dramatize it as in like the Hollywood movies and stuff.
Right.
It really was a life for a life. That, of course, is post-classic Mesoamerica, so 900 CE, 1521. Let's go to the second one, the Greek one. This reflects cultural tension. They emphasize unavoidable blood sacrifice. But the later versions seek mercy. That's all about us watering down history to make it easier to swallow, where we weren't as barbarian. We did what we did.
Yeah, why hide it?
Why even try to sit in those shoes? Did what we did. This is what happened. So anyways, that in mind, 1400 to 700 BCE. Okay, so that's even earlier than the Aztecs. So this is just the association with that Trojan War again. He wasn't even supposed to get there. The wind stopped him, okay? So he upset Artemis. And So the wind stopped, and he had to sacrifice his daughter to go to war. For a lot of it, seems like pride, his pride.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were one of the only, if not the only, independent cities. So bad that he even irritated Achilles. Is that why? You know how we were talking about how we were just starting to get into stuff like Achilles.
Right.
Because that was never really my forte. I was more of like the deities. I really liked the deities and the creatures, not so much the heroes. So now looking more into Achilles, because he is going to be a player in one of our top 2 books. I wonder if that's why. Like, he was supposed to marry the daughter, and then he killed his daughter. What do you think? Your only daughter being sacrificed to go to war. What do you think about that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. Why am I doing that? Like, but
Like, you got to sacrifice what you love most.
just to go to war? Just so I can go fight somebody?
So you can have the win to go to war.
I'm going to look at the fact that the wind stopped for a reason. Not, well, let me say, I would hope that I did. In my mindset now, the way I look at things, if that wind stopped, it was supposed to stop. And they should have too. Wouldn't he have had some kind of signs?
Yeah, look at the divine sign. To sacrifice the thing you love most, you can never come back. You don't want to come back.
No.
So now you fight even harder to get what you want, because it's got to be worth it. It's the only thing you have left is that. But unavoidable blood sacrifice was part of the story with that. Doesn't seem like that's unavoidable. I mean, the bigger armies, the bigger nation you have, the more protection. But also, was it just greed?
Pride.
Pride and greed. Okay, the Hebrew one. It preserves the terror of sacrifice while decisively rejecting its final act. What do you think about that too? Going to sacrifice his only son. Going to sacrifice his only son to God to prove that he will do anything. You know, thinking that the son was the reward, and then to be told, nope, it's your final test.
Ooh.
Because who else did he do that to? Job.
Job. There it is. So is this just another one of those tales where it's like both stories, it is the same person, just a different...
That's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah, that Greek and Hebrew one sound very similar.
Right. That's like looking at the same 2 different windows of the same house. But the windows of the room are on opposite sides, so you see a different perspective of it. Right?
Yeah.
Same room, but you just see it differently.
That's just the overall idea. What are you willing to pay? And that is a reflection. What is my price? What is your price? What are you willing to sacrifice? And then what are you willing to give a sacrifice for? Because there's that other side. I will pay this price for this. What is your reward? To go to war? Knowledge? That appreciation, that gratitude? Are you willing to pay the price of walking away? Like, that's the Pilgrim's Progress. Walking away from family.
Yeah.
Because they no longer are on the same path.
Right.
And their path will destroy you.
Right.
What price are you willing to pay, and for what?
For...
Would you look for knowledge? Would you look for liberation or power or answers?
What would I want?
What would you want? I guess that's not the true question, but you need to know what you want before you can know what price you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, and that's just the thing right there. The price you're willing to pay is subject to what you're really wanting. Mm-hmm. Because you wouldn't sacrifice your kid for something silly, you know. That's pretty major to me. For me, that would be major. Now, to somebody else, not so much. But that's just who they are. So I would need to know, at the end of the day, what in this lifetime is my true purpose that I chose to come here and do? What is that purpose? And then I'll know what I'm willing to sacrifice. Because then at that point, it might be, that child. But, it's not my choice at that point, because what was my purpose?
There are some things we all are faced with having to pay, though. Universal payments.
Yeah.
Are you willing to sacrifice the idea of who you were for who you can become? Because you see it all the time. Like, there are some people who look at that question, they're like, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice who I was, and they leave hometowns, or they change their careers, or they walk away from unhealthy relationships and stuff. They are able to thrive, but you never really see or hear from them again.
I've looked a couple people up. Whatever happened to this person? You'll just see random posts of them just doing some of the coolest stuff. And it's not just right around where they live. It's globally. These
Right.
people are traveling, doing stuff, and it's like, that's what I want. That's what I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm. Then there are people who aren't willing to let go of who they were.
Right.
Because that's their comfort. I feel like a lot of people that are like that are drinkers.
Yeah.
Heavy drinkers. I'm not saying people that just have a couple drinks. People that have had a bar stool since.
And that's life. This
know.
is how life is. That's what your life is. And you are, obviously okay enough with it because you continue to choose it. And maybe that's all you want. And if it's not, have a conversation with someone that can maybe help you out.
Be a partner to you if you were like that. And I wouldn't expect you to stay if I was like that. Or even if we were there together, all it really is a sanctuary to air your problems. That's what I think bars are. You are allowed to air out your problems and to be sloppy and to throw your inhibitions to the wind, and just, that's like the haven to do it, When those kind of places, it's like, it's not just casual drinking like a restaurant, like a B-dubs,
Yeah.
These are bars where you did it last week with the same group and you'll do it next week with the same group.
Yeah.
I get it, like when you leave that world and then it's like you go back once or twice, the less you're there, the less you want to be there.
Yeah. Zero desire to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. The summer picnic is fun.
Yeah.
So today's task, give up one small thing today. So just give up one small thing today to practice choosing what you value most. The application will be, what you surrender shapes who you become. What you surrender shapes who you become.
I like that. That's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we could get rid of some stuff. Like, I don't know why I was just thinking of, like, just actually getting rid of stuff.
Like things?
I just don't know what things we get rid of. Why do we have stuff that's broken, I guess?
Makes sense. Isn't that kind of what spring cleaning is, though, too?
Yeah, but like...
So this is supposed to be something small, just to be like, hey, small but not, like, significant, I think. It needs to be something significant, not major.
All right, everyone. Well, that's all that we have for you today. We'll see you tomorrow for day 13. Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you for walking this journey with me today. These stories are more than folklore. They are the heartbeat of our world building, the inspiration behind our characters, and the soul of the Legends Reborn Chronicles. By exploring these tales, we honor the past, ignite the present, and breathe life into the legends we're creating together. To see more of Mark and I, as well as additional scenes, discussions, and healing, check the links below that will lead you to our various social media platforms. Please also feel free to ask any questions or leave any comments in the episode below or in future episodes to come. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, may your path be guided by wonder, curiosity, and the magic of the stories that came before us. Blessings, and I'll see you on our next folklore journey.